Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Visa Solutions Australia fortnightly webinar. Thanks for joining me. For those that haven't met me previously, I'm the Director of Immigration Services here at Visa Solutions. I'm a senior practitioner within the Australian immigration industry. I've got over 18 years of experience as a registered migration agent. Visa Solutions is a full-service immigration provider that specialises in innovative immigration solutions for clients interested in working or studying or visiting or living in Australia, a whole range of options. We provide immigration to assistance to employers, individuals, parents, students, business owners, major project developers, and many others from various walks of life. We're committed to providing each client with the highest standards of service at an appropriate price. What I'm going to talk about this week is a brief overview of the reasons why you would apply for state nomination and the process to obtain state nomination. It's a fairly short topic, so I'll run through it. If you've got any questions, please pop them into the chat box and then we can see whether we can cover them at the end. I'm just going to see if I can mute someone at the other end. I can hear someone. Just bear with me 1 second. Okay, now hopefully you can all still hear me and I can't hear anyone from the other end. Okay, so first of all, the place for state nomination. Why do you apply for state nomination? We're talking here about an application where you apply for general skilled migration under the points test, and particularly the visa category, the skilled nominated visa category, subclass 190. If you're trying to apply for skilled migration by yourself as an independent applicant, you apply, if you can, through the subclass 189, the skilled independent visa category. That requires you to have an occupation on the skilled occupations list. Now, that's actually quite a narrow list. There's only a restricted number of occupations that you can use to apply for the skilled independent visa category. If you can get state sponsorship, state nomination, you can apply using a much broader list of occupations, basically any of the occupations from the CSOL, the Consolidated Sponsored Occupations list. So it opens up a much wider list of occupations and gives you more opportunities to apply. That's the first big advantage. Secondly, if you've got state nomination, you pick up an extra 5 points, which enables you to achieve the pass mark in the points test a little bit more easily. In addition, your application is likely to be processed a little faster overall. When you apply using the skilled independent visa category, you lodge an expression of interest with the Department of Immigration and you wait until you are invited to lodge the visa application itself. Now, each month the Department of Immigration issues a number of invitations, and those tend to go to people who have the maximum points, who have the occupations that are in particular demand, that are going to be able to make an immediate impact in the Australian economy. And so you might be sitting in the pool of potential expression of interest applicants for quite some time before you get an invitation to lodge the visa application. If, however, you indicate in your expression of interest that you want to apply for the subclass 190, the skilled nominated category, with state sponsorship, and state sponsorship and state nomination is subsequently approved, you will then immediately receive an invitation to lodge the visa application itself. You're not at the mercy of how many people are ahead of you in the pool and how many points are they all on. You should receive your invitation very soon after the state nomination has been approved and sponsorship has been confirmed to the Department of Immigration. So those are the real big advantages of doing it that way. If you are lucky enough to obtain state nomination, you lodge the skilled nominated visa category, and that's then subsequently approved. You're then making a commitment to live in the sponsoring state for a period of 2 years following the grant of the visa. It is possible to move away from the state. Normally, within the 2 years, you would normally contact the state government and ask for confirmation that they're happy for you to do that. You have made a commitment that you will stay there. The other way of looking at it is that if you obtain Australian citizenship within the 2-year period, if perhaps you've been living in Australia on a temporary resident visa earlier, you make your application for permanent residency, and 1 year later you apply for Australian citizenship, you can then move away without any problems, because the obligation to stay in the state then falls away. The criteria for state nomination depends on the particular state that you want to live in. Each state has its own requirements, and they vary quite broadly. As a general rule, you've got to meet all of the normal Department of Immigration criteria, so a formal skills assessment in an occupation that's on the CSOL, the Consolidated Sponsored List, with minimum English language criteria, usually some work experience criteria, and very frequently some evidence of a commitment or a tie or a particular interest in living in the state that you're applying for nomination by. So perhaps evidence that you studied there, or you've got family members, or you've spent a significant amount of time visiting that state, or you've done lots of research about the state, and so on. Just to give you an example, if I have a look at, so this is the, I'm looking at accountants at the moment. So accountants, the Northern Territory, it looks like you can get state nomination for the Northern Territory, for New South Wales, for Tasmania, potentially for WA, I'll come back to that, potentially for South Australia, but not for ACT, Canberra, not for Queensland, and not for Victoria. If I look at another occupation, so now I'm looking at this private music teacher. Private music teacher is only available for state sponsorship in South Australia. It's not on any of the other state lists. So it very much depends on the individual occupation, and we would need to assess, when we're carrying out the initial assessment of eligibility, we would need to look at, first of all, can you get a positive skills assessment? Do you meet all of the other criteria for the visa? And then, what is the requirement for each state where you might want to live? So, as I say, some of the states specify a higher English language criteria. That occupation that I just mentioned, private music teacher in South Australia, it's on their list, but only if you meet their supplementary criteria, which specifies that you have a higher than normal level of English, and in some cases a higher number of overall points available in the points test. Moving on specifically to Western Australia, which is obviously where we're based, we can look at state nomination for any state, but in WA, the basic criteria is that you've got 12 months relevant work experience in Australia, or 3 years relevant work experience in your home country or elsewhere overseas. WA has 2 lists of occupations. They have Schedule 1 and Schedule 2. Schedule 1 occupations don't require any other specific criteria for state nomination other than the basic Department of Immigration criteria and that work experience I just mentioned. If you have an occupation on the WA Schedule 2 list, you need, in addition, a job offer from an Australian employer who is willing to offer you a full-time position for at least 12 months. Now, if you're already here working on, for instance, a 457 visa, that could come from your existing employer, and you provide evidence that your job is going to be ongoing for the next 12 months. If you're applying from overseas, you need a formal job offer and a contract to say a position will be available for you for a period of 12 months. Here in WA, the state nomination application fee is $200. They take around about 5 or 6 days to process them, so they're fairly fast. And that application fee and processing time is pretty typical around Australia. One of the things in Western Australia, as part of the application for sponsorship process, you have to demonstrate your knowledge of the cost of living here, the cost of relocation, that you've done some research about job opportunities, what you might need to do to get your kids into school, and so on. The process is that you do your preliminary work first of all. You do your English language test and your skills assessment, research that you're going to be eligible for the visa. Then you lodge your expression of interest with the Department of Immigration. In your expression of interest, you flag which state you're particularly interested in, and then you wait for that state to send you an invitation to apply under their sponsorship criteria. 1 or 2 states do allow you to lodge the expression of interest and then apply directly for the state sponsorship without having to be invited. But normally there is an invitation process. So the state government scrolls through the database of expression of interest applications on a regular basis, see which applicants, which candidates meet their basic criteria, and then send out an invitation, effectively to say, look, you look like you might be of interest to us. Would you like to apply for sponsorship? Once your sponsorship has been approved and you've met all the criteria, you get a sponsorship agreement, which you have to sign off and send back to them. The state government authority will then notify the Department of Immigration that state sponsorship has been approved, and then the Department of Immigration will send you the invitation to lodge the visa application itself. You've got 60 days to lodge the visa. You lodge that, and then it will be processed in the normal way with your medicals, police checks, evidence of all of your employment, and so on. One thing that's useful to remember, you can apply for state nomination through multiple states. Some states do require you to have a higher commitment to them rather than anyone else, so you do need to look at that carefully. But technically there's no reason why you can't apply for several states if you want to. I think that's covered it. Let me just see if there's anything that's just come through in the... I'm just looking at the comments from Olga, Alex. Can you guys hear me? I think I've muted everyone, but can you guys all hear me okay? Just perhaps type me a brief message just to say, I should have checked this sooner, but I've got a couple of comments saying it's difficult to hear me. I'm hoping that's okay now. All right. Olga, thanks for that. Alex, thanks for that also. I will try next time to make sure that I've got my sound quality set up better beforehand. I've got everyone muted on the system here, so it must be background noise within the office. There's not an awful lot I can do about that. We've just about finished for today, but I'll make sure the volume setting is better next time round. Look, we can help you with applications for state nomination. As part of the assessment process, we look at a person's background, we look at the occupation, whether they're going to be able to get a positive skills assessment, we look at their English language ability, and then it's a matter of considering which Department of Immigration list they fall on, and obviously the requirements for the state nomination. We understand the difficulty in these types of applications. They are complex, so we can help you with the preparation, the lodgement, and the processing of a skills assessment and a state's application for state nomination and an expression of interest and the visa application itself. We can help reduce overall processing times. You don't want to get these types of applications wrong. They are expensive. If you don't get an invitation to lodge the expression of interest, you're not going to get an invitation to lodge the visa application at all. So you need to make sure it's all done carefully. Our mission is to get you the right visa at the right price and in an effective and timely manner. Do get in touch with us. Let us know if you've got any queries on any aspects of any visa application, but particularly for this week, skill migration and the applications for state nomination. Thanks very much, guys. Let us know if you've got any queries, and I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. Thank you. Bye now.